Well, Banks Barbados Breweries Limited has been described as an icon for the local business sector. This was revealed during the company's 50th anniversary service at the St. Barnabas Church. Former HR manager and cricketing legend Reverend West Hall says Banks not only manufactures world-class products, but it provided jobs for several of Barbados's other cricketing legends. Reverend Hall added that Banks served as an example for other businesses to use the Wildy area as a mecca for economic activity.
It is a truism that Banks Breweries is a crucible that transformed the massive cane fields of Wildy Plantation into a center of economic activity with 3 commercial banks, 2 car dealerships, supermarkets, the gymnasium, Bimac, the gas company, U.S. Embassy, Harris Paints, Automotive Arts, restaurants, Cotelli, 3 gas stations, Life of Barbados, and a church, I must say that. A church, United Green Church. So Wildy has become the mecca of business activity. I dare say all because of Banks Breweries.
Reverend Hall advised the company that in order to continue being a leading company, it must adapt to current business trends.
The dinosaur did not become extinct because of lack of strength and fine constitutional balance. He became extinct because he did not adapt to world-changing conditions. And it is amazing that although that meteor that killed that mighty dinosaur, there are 3,000 species of legends in this world today who survive that meteor. So you have to adapt to world-changing conditions.
Regional news now. Things are heating up in St. Lucia over the alleged channeling of Taiwanese funds to UWP parliamentarians. We get more in this report.
Show me the evidence. Show me the evidence. You know, the embassy ever write any check to any politician. Show me the evidence. Otherwise, you should keep quiet.
That is a direct response from Taiwanese Ambassador Tom Chu to SLP Deputy Leader Philip J. Pierre. Ambassador Chu is continuing to deny allegations Taiwanese funds are being channeled through individual UWP parliamentarians. He further rebuffed suggestions the Taiwanese government has done anything wrong in not placing money for community projects into the consolidated fund.
In a democratic country, we can tolerate different voices. You know, this is a democratic country. But there's a bottom line. You cannot tell the lie. The allegation made by Mr. Pierre said, you know, the embassy or my government put our foreign aid money into the local politician's pocket. This is totally untrue.
A press release issued by the Taiwanese embassy stated, to ensure that aid programs are implemented properly and with sufficient transparency, donor countries and international organizations tend to play active roles in the implementation process and reject the idea of depositing foreign aid resources in the consolidated funds. This view has been shared by Minister of External Affairs Rufus Bousquet. Minister Bousquet further argues by benefit of, quote, some other fund, stated in Section 77 of the Constitution, the move by his government in relation to the Taiwanese funds is lawful.
It says in the consolidated fund or any other fund set up for the purpose of dispensing money. It never says anything in terms of any money received by government must go into the consolidated fund. Don't worry about what is selected by individuals and taken out in order to make their particular point. Go out there and see what the whole law says, you know. But I am quite aware that we're on safe ground, and if we are not, the persons who are making the most noise about this are sufficiently legally knowledgeable to have taken this thing through the legal process, if in fact they had the keys.
Well, still in St. Lucia, the ruling United Workers' Party is warning of the possibility of mass confusion among the electorate as a result of new voting measures ahead of the general elections later this year. Chairman of the party, Clem Bob, feels that this is not the time for making changes to a practice and a process that has worked since adult suffrage and just so close to elections. Electoral authorities earlier this week announced that in a bid to modernize the electoral process, new measures, including the use of a passport-sized photo of all candidates, will be affixed to the ballot paper, as well as the introduction of a voting stamp to replace the use of pencils. Well, over in Dominica, Justice Gertrude Thom has ruled that Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit and his Education Minister Peter St. John will not have to testify in the trial regarding their nomination to contest the December 2009 general elections. The judge, who said she would give her reasons for the ruling at a later stage of the proceedings, dismissed the subpoenas filed by the main opposition United Workers' Party. The opposition was asking the court to declare that both Skerrit and St. John were illegally nominated because they held dual citizenship at the time, but she allowed the 13 new statements filed by the party to be a part of the court proceedings.
Good evening, I'm Kent Jerson with the Business Report. Local small and medium-sized businesses are being encouraged to see innovation as a key strategy for future success. That's the advice coming from Minister of Industry, Small Business and Rural Development, Dennis Kelman. He was delivering the feature address at the opening session of the third SME conference of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, the ACCA. Speaking under the theme, the role of government in enabling a SME-friendly environment, Mr. Kelman said innovation-driven growth makes it easier for the state to undertake the necessary policy interventions.
In this regard, government's policy direction towards the SME sector going forward must encompass facilitation, enablement, support, and development of programs focused on those sectors that have potential to be the drivers of modern regional economy. Of critical import is the provision of information relative to the various trade agreements that the region undertakes, and more specifically, the opportunity or challenge they present to the business class. For example, the economic partnership agreements.
Well, those attending the conference were also told that while government has a role to play, the sector should not be looking for handouts. That point was made by Treasurer of the Barbados Small Business Association, David Simpson.
I think it is our job to lobby for an enabling framework that will facilitate the growth that we require. Whether this growth calls for access to finance, access to technical assistance, access to technical support, at the end of the day, we are responsible for our success and the direction that we go. And I like to say, I mean, from the time I've been in business, we may be small, we may be medium, we may even be micro in size, but I think what is fundamental to our success is that we need to think big all of the time. We don't need to think. Your thinking does not have to reflect your size.
The importance of SMEs was also stressed. Deputy President of the ACCA, Dean Westcott, described them as the lifeblood of economies worldwide.
They account for over 95% and up to 99% of enterprises, depending on the country, according to the OECD. And ACCA's own statistics show that SMEs account for about 50% of all private sector output and 63% of private sector employment globally. As a country's economy grows, so does the share of SMEs in output and employment. And many of them have found innovative ways of surviving the recession and of thriving in tentative recoveries, perhaps by changing how they work and how they operate.
Now for a brief look at the stocks, here's a summary of today's trading on some of the region's exchanges.
A very good evening to all, and in scrutinizing satellite and radar imagery today, we saw some pockets of sharp showers across some sections of Barbados. At the airport, all totaled, we had 4.4 millimeters of rainfall, bringing the total so far of September to 8.4 for the month so far. In terms of the temperature though, with the sharp showers that we also had a fair amount of sunshine, and the maximum temperature got up to 31.7. The minimum temperature was a chilly 22.8. At 6 o'clock though, skies were partly cloudy. The temperature was an even 27 degrees Celsius. The humidity stood at 75%. And the winds were out of the east at 13 kilometers per hour. And again tonight, the Atlantic is a fairly active area. Barbados and the island chain nestled under this area of cloud. Just off the African coast, the tropical wave, that one has advanced to around 22 degrees west, activity to the south of 18 degrees north, still of moderate intensity, but of most importance, Tropical Storm Maria. This grew out of Tropical Depression number 14, and at 5 o'clock this evening, the center of this system was in the vicinity of 13.2 degrees north, 44.2 degrees west, or about 1,200 miles to the east of the Lesser Antilles. The system is motoring to the west at 23 miles per hour. Maximum sustained winds are in the vicinity of 50 miles per hour, but the system is presently struggling a bit. Model data, though, is suggesting that it's going to be overcoming all its challenges, and it should reach us sometime late Friday into Saturday. It's expected to pass to the north of the area, and we are going to be monitoring that system very, very closely. But in the island chain today, a tropical wave moved across the area early this morning, and this was responsible for generating quite a bit of moisture, especially in the northern portion of the region, and as a result, they had continued cloudy skies. As you can see, we are sitting just on the southern boundary of that instability, and as a result we had those variable conditions here in Barbados, but generally the south had lovely conditions. But to the north, Hurricane Katia, and at 5 o'clock this evening, the center of this system was under 300 miles to the south-southwest of Bermuda. The system is presently moving to the northwest at about 10 miles per hour. The winds have dropped to about 80 miles per hour, but this system is expected to, should be by now, affecting Bermuda as it moves northward. In the far west, there is Tropical Storm Nate, that is in the Bay of Campeche, and that system that was developed this evening. I'll be back after the break to give you insights in what we are expecting for tomorrow and the next couple of days. Welcome back, and with the axis of that tropical wave presently to the west of the region, around 62, 63 degrees west, loads of residual moisture still very much in the area. As a result, we're going to be looking at fair to partly cloudy skies for us here in Barbados. Some scattered shower activity. Most of the heavier stuff, though, is to the north. Of course, this represents the movement of Maria towards the region, and we're going to be focusing on that system very, very closely, keeping you informed on its movement. As I indicated, it's struggling a bit, but is expected to overcome these challenges and pass through the northern portion of the island chain sometime Friday into Saturday. The 4-day outlook went Thursday through to Sunday, and we are looking at a mixture of sunshine and shower activity tomorrow. The moisture graph is going to be going up Friday into Saturday as Maria moves closer to the region, and we're urging you to pay pretty close attention to what's going on. Sunrise in Barbados tomorrow, 5:47. Sunset will be at 4 minutes after 6. The tides, the first high tide 22 minutes after midnight. The second is going to be a minute after 2 in the p.m. The first low tide 29 minutes after 7. The second is going to be at 22 minutes after 7 in the evening. Seas, slight to moderate in open water and peaking at 2 meters, but we are expecting a deterioration in sea conditions as Maria moves closer to the region. The winds easterly to east-northeasterly 10 to 30 kilometers per hour. Our predictions for Barbados for tonight and for tomorrow: fair to occasionally cloudy with a few scattered showers tonight, and tomorrow mostly sunny with some scattered showers, and those showers are expected to be mainly during the afternoon.